If you're a man, have you ever exploded in anger? You need to listen to this. Sometimes one word, one comment or question from your wife or partner is all it takes, and boom, you lose it. Has that ever happened to you? So what happens when we feel so much and we think a lot of things and it's not processed and it doesn't come out, whether in our words or in our body language? The outcome isn't good for any of us. Have you ever been in a maze, in a labyrinth, where you've gone one way, hit a dead end and had to turn back, then you've gone another way, turned left and right and still not got out? And if that continues, you get frustrated, emotions build up and it gets pent up and you might feel overwhelmed. And again, that's what it can feel like in a conversation or a situation where emotions are piling up, they're not being dealt with, and it then ends badly because you start to lose control. Finger pointing kicks in, sometimes physically, literally. Also then can kick into attack versus defense. We hit fight or flight mode. We're not in control. We're not reflecting or using our executive part of our brain. We're in survival mode, and that rarely ends well. Imagine being in water where you're trying to keep your head above it so that you can breathe and get out. But if the tide rises and rises and you're getting in above your head, you start to scramble around. And again, that's not how you can swim effectively and save yourself. Again, that's what can happen. You don't have control, you're scrambling around, and that's when your head goes below water. Again, that doesn't end well. Now, I'm not saying women are perfect. I'm not saying our wives and partners are perfect. But in this situation, again, they tend to handle these things better than us. And this, for me, links to multitasking, where they're able to do that side a little better than us. So obviously, we've got strengths compared to them. But in this respect, emotions side, this is where we need to work a bit more, a bit harder, because it doesn't come as naturally to us as them. Think about how a thermostat works. The room heats up and it gets to the right temperature, the temperature the thermostat is set at. Click, the thermostat cuts it out. Think about how that works. So before the room gets too uncomfortable and before it heats up too much, the thermostat is a mechanism which stops that happening. I had a look online, I couldn't see one for men. And this is the thing. This is why, because there's no natural mechanism, no system, that's when we need to build up the skills and the self-awareness and the emotional intelligence to do the job that exists in these mechanisms, in these devices, so that the outcome doesn't get out of hand and it doesn't end badly for you. If you've ever been in a position where, as things have gone on, as the situation's gone on, your pressure's built up and you've exploded, I want you to think about this example. Think about how a pressure cooker works. It cooks healthily and effectively, apparently. It's got something in it that releases the pressure when it gets too high. Builds up, builds up, builds up, and then the loud whistle kicks in, lets off the steam, the pressure reduces inside. I wish we had one of those. That would be so incredible, but again, it doesn't exist. And then with the pressure cooker, it carries on cooking until we turn it off, and that automatic mechanism kicks in to stop it happening. Again, we don't have that, which is why I'm going to give you a couple of tips so that you can regulate yourself and stop things getting out of hand. So what happens when your thoughts and emotions aren't processed or dealt with? It ends badly. Why does it end badly? Because your reaction causes a bad reaction and a bad vibe. The consequences are not good. You're not going to get a sweet smile or an understanding response. Your kids will run a mile. They think, oh no, dad's in a bad mood. Not playing with me, I'm not playing with him. And your wife, she is going to go a mile as well. She will not be your company that night. Her company will be the mobile phone. If this continues, emotional wars can happen, grudges build up, and distance can develop in relationships. Here are some things to try to stop that happening. First, catch yourself. Try and spot when the red mist is rising, temperatures are going up, you're losing control. Try and catch yourself. It's all about awareness. Awareness is at the heart of a lot of what we teach at Man-Made Mojo. And the more aware you are, the more you can do something about it. You can change your thinking and your approach and get a different outcome, and that's growth. Catch yourself doing it and then pause. Explain it to you this way. Imagine a push button toy that your kids have, or you might have had. When the button's pushed, it does whatever it's going to do, and it's automatic. There's no two ways about it. Have you ever been in a position where something's happened, if you've reacted, and again the same thing's happened another time, you've given the same reaction? Often it doesn't serve you. I know, I still sometimes do it, but a lot less. It doesn't serve me. It's like I'm on autopilot watching myself react. Create the space and say, look, this isn't going to end well. I'm going to take time out. More about that in a moment. Create the headspace. Go off, go for a walk. If you have a dog, take your dog for a walk. Breathe, whatever works for you. But the idea is to compose yourself and come back with more control and more power, and working with your brain rather than an autopilot reaction. That will serve you and get you a better result. Now, I said about taking a time out. Think of a sports coach. Think of a team where the team's taking a battering. They are going through the wars, and if the coach can, what do? The T goes up for a timeout. They realise it's going the wrong way, the situation is going badly, and they intervene. They create an intervention and a pause with a timeout. Then they huddle, they get together, breathe, get some instructions going, point out what they can do differently, collect themselves mentally and physically and emotionally, and they go again. So you can do the same. Remember this when it happens. Think of the T, call that time out in the situation, take control and show leadership. More about that in a moment. When you do that, you can collect yourself, and then when you approach things again, you would have thought through it, reflected, and you, which would be your team in the sports example, will benefit, because here you're becoming a better coach. In the sports sense, you're better at managing yourself. This is not easy, this is tough. I've been through it, and my growth in this space has been hard won. Now, you may be calmer than I was, but if you're not, this is the space to be validated, and we're here to help you and come together as guys to change it. It's hard, but it's worth it. The wins are so worth it, my brother. Do it. And when you start to see it, when you create the first pause where before you'd have lost it, that's a win. Build on that. So recognize and celebrate your wins is about taking 100% responsibility. You are the leader. Stand up and be the leader. I wasn't always, I'll admit it, but I want you to learn and take responsibility. What does that mean? In the workplace, your team or your business depends on you. Sometimes things don't go well. It's not your responsibility, it's not your fault, but actually a good leader takes it on the chin, goes into a huddle with their team and corrects it and stands up for the team. That's what I'm talking about. Now, in order to do that, first you need to be managing yourself. So again, this is stuff to work on, but the prize is worth it. The change in you and the change in your results will be so worth it. When you're able to pause, get control over yourself, you're seizing back your power. When you've got your power, you're managing yourself. And that puts you then in a position to be able to take responsibility for everything that happens in your family and in your house. And that again, you will see the results in the overall change and the individual changes. This again is something to work on. You have got this. You're amazing. Thank you so much.